Adwoa, congratulations. You are British GQ Model of the Year.
Thanks.
How does that feel?
Well, it's the first award I've ever been given, so it feels like amazing.
That's great.
It feels amazing. And I remember like years ago when my dad and my mum used to go to the awards and we'd like hear about who had won. And obviously this is a new category, isn't it?
Bella Hadid won it last year.
Yeah, so it's amazing that
So good company
thus
far.
So it's really cool, and I got to work with, I've never worked with GQ before, and I get to pick up an award in September, so I mean it's just all round winning.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Bask in the glow.
Yeah, exactly.
So I want to know, how does one become a successful model?
Oh,
Give
God,
us the
I don't
secrets.
know.
Give us the secrets of success.
Okay, the secrets of success. Like I've been doing this for a long time, so I'm glad that it's paid off. But I think the moment it changed was because of my attitude towards it. I think I was a bit lax in my approach to the community and the people I was working with, and I think once I had clarity and I was a lot more grounded, I started taking it more seriously. I think that's one of the key parts, is just realising that there's a lot that goes into it. Health, making sure you're there on time, making sure you're a lovely person to be around, sitting in that, but also sitting in that disappointment, sitting in the rejection, because obviously that's a major part of being a model. So that's the part that I've taken quite seriously, and just making sure that I'm like there, that I'm awake, and that I give the client and the photographer what they want and work with them.
Sure. Was it a question of that you weren't quite sure it was really an industry you wanted to get into and take seriously? And
yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think, but I've always made sure I have other things going on, and you know, that's a great part of, you know, that's Gurls Talk is my love
baby.
And my baby. But I think I was very unsure about the industry, and also very unsure of like who I was. So it just made it a lot more difficult to perform and commit when I got on set.
Yeah. How did it come about, I guess, way back now?
Not being embarrassed, that's a good one.
Okay.
That's what I always say. My sister's just started modelling. Well, she's modelled a bit, but she started doing it properly because she's graduated. And I think that's a really big one for me, is just not being embarrassed when you're on set. No one cares, no one's judging. So just do your thing.
I guess it's about being quite uninhibited in that way, but that can be, well, especially if you're very young, quite a difficult thing to overcome.
Exactly.
And has that got easier for you in terms of? Oh
yeah, definitely. Since the more older I get and the more life lessons I've had and the more experiences, it definitely falls back into this and my modelling. I can understand how hard it must be when you're, you know, 16 coming into this industry. And you know, there's a lot of times where I'm working with like girls that are a lot younger than me, and I can see how nerve-wracking it can be. Yeah, I mean, but I'm also very lucky with my parents, with both of them being like part of the fashion industry. I've never felt like I've had to do something for someone else.
Sure. Were you, because your parents are such kind of stalwarts and, you know, kind of iconic figures in the industry, behind the scenes, I guess, to some extent, but was that a help or a hindrance to you at the start? Did that make you kind of want to rebel against the industry a bit more when you were younger? Because I guess it's what your parents do, and a lot of, you know, kids growing up don't want to follow their parents into a particular profession. Or have you kind of embraced their learning, I guess? And
I've always embraced, you know, their friends, and you know, a lot of their friends who are part of the fashion industry. I think there's a misconception, because I know a lot of people in the industry, that it's just been like easy. Right. But just because they might be like my godfather or I've grown up with them doesn't mean that it's just like come to me. It's like I might get in the room, but it's like all the work that I have to do after to show them that I'm ready and that I can do the job. But I think, you know, I always say this, independence was a big part of me deciding to embark on this career choice.
What wouldn't you have done if I guess we weren't sat here and you weren't basking in the glory of the win?
Oh, I don't. I suppose I'd be doing more Girls Talk.
Sure.
And maybe concentrating a bit more on acting, which I really want to do in the future, but it's just about making time for it.
Yeah. I wondered if did you being part of the industry or being around the industry at a young age, were you aware of, the kind of the supermodels and those kind of iconic figures like, Linda Evangelista and Claudia Schiffer? Were they kind of role models for you?
No, not at all. And I always find that really interesting with, models into, at this point in time being such role models and being, having so many followers and really being looked up to and becoming so much more than just a face representing a brand on a magazine and a face for a brand. And I think that really comes with the fact that we have like Instagram and social media, because you can now see a model in her real life and not just as a mannequin in a magazine. But I definitely wasn't looking up to I wasn't looking up to models. I wasn't really into that. But I loved the kind of how fabulous it seemed in...
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I thought that was really
Have you
exciting.
met some of those kind of iconic girls now in all the work you've done? Have you met
Yeah,
those,
and that's been
people?
really cool.
Yeah.
It's really nice to work with, like models who have been in this industry for a long time. You can learn a lot from them, and it's so beautiful watching them in front of the camera and how...
I guess in some ways, because they didn't have that, the focus on their private life as much as, or I guess control as well as what they put out there, because what we have with social media now, there was a different, they were quite mysterious, I guess, a different kind of thing. And I wondered, in some ways maybe it's more difficult nowadays because you've kind of got to, be that person all the time, or maybe it's just more about being yourself. Yeah,
I mean, I definitely go with being oneself, but I think you do have to be on... I try to fight the whole social media part of being a model and the going to events, and that was something I really didn't want to be part of, but the reality is that it comes hand in hand with being on set and being on the catwalk. You have to show up in that way, and part of so many contracts and so many shoots that you do is that you post and that you're part of the social media film or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's all part of the package now, isn't it? I mean, there's been lots of talk recently, and I went to a conference where this was discussed quite at length. But the kind of protection that the industry offers some of these young girls, I know you've only got your perspective on it, but is that something that still needs work? Is there a lot more care taken now than there used to be? I don't know what you've found.
Well, there are particular figures in the industry that are really standing up for the girls and the boys and making sure that they're respected and not just left till the end after everyone else, But I definitely think there's a lot more work to be done.
Yeah. I mean, I guess diversity or lack of it is still an issue. Would you agree? Has it got better, or has it now become kind of about tokenism? In some ways, it's it's a casting agents booking a runway show, and they'll have one black model, one Asian model, and it's kind of job done.
Yeah, and it sometimes works in my favour in the sense, there have been certain jobs that I know that they have to fill a quota, and I always get really pulled between the fact that I might be doing well and I might be in that show, but then you look through the show cast and it's just I'm the only black girl, there's 2 other and 1 Asian, and there's not enough. So I think I'm hoping that at the moment it's not just a fad and a trend, and this is something that everyone makes sure is a priority. Talking
about role models, I guess, do you feel comfortable now in your position of power, now that you're being looked up to so much by so many young girls with what you do with Girls Talk? That idea of being a role model, is that a scary thing?
Yeah, it is sometimes. I have to think a lot more about everything.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's great because I have clarity in it. It has to be a big part of making sure that I'm doing stuff that's sending the right message out and coming from an authentic and real place, and I'm not just, you know, saying yes because the money's good or, you know, it's good to work with that photographer because so-and-so. I have to really think about that. So I do make a lot of choices, and I have a really great team around me that like respect the choices that I decide to make.
Sure.
But I think I try and like, obviously it's amazing that I've got this certain label of being a role model to girls, but I make sure that it's not, so it doesn't scare me and doesn't put me under too much pressure. I'm just kind of like,
it's realistic.
I'm just learning. I've got so much more that I want to achieve and so much more that I think I need to achieve to actually appreciate that label. So I just kind of leave it to the side and then just carry on with my journey.
Yeah. Are you quite harsh on yourself in that that way, in terms of, I guess, sort of striving for perfection in some aspects of your life? Can that be a struggle and difficult?
Yeah, I'm like my biggest critic, and I really have to spend more time in sitting in my accomplishments and sitting in all the wonderful things that Girls Talk and my team do. I think because this industry is so fast-paced, I do one thing and then I move on to the next thing, and I don't take enough time to really appreciate those things. But I'm also my biggest critic, and I also look up to some really powerful women that I feel have really
good judgment, I guess.
Yeah, I feel I'm basing my accomplishments on some really like high-powered women. So
that's good.
Yeah.
The reach must exceed the grasp in that way.
Yeah.
How is being famous? Do you suit it? Is it a shock to the system? Is it different at all?
I don't like that question.
Well, I guess that means I think you're a good person if you don't like that question.
No, I don't want. The great thing, if we want to call it famous, I don't like that word. But
high profile.
Okay, high profile. That's a better one. It's when girls come up to me and they say how much they liked the documentaries I did, or how much Girls Talk means to them, that means the world. I still get quite awkward if it's more so about modelling. I don't really know how to take those compliments. But I definitely don't want to be famous. Sure. I couldn't handle that. I like my private life. And obviously a big part of Girls Talk is that I've spoken so openly about my life and my journey, but I think I make sure I'm still protecting myself. I don't want to talk about it all the time.
Sure.
I think when I do interviews and, certain ones that I've done, they immediately think because I've spoken about it, I'm happy to speak about it again. But it's also,
you don't want that to be you don't want your recovery to be the sole focus of these things.
I've got so many more things that I want to talk about.
Sure. Just touching briefly now, saying we don't want to talk about it, but on Girls Talk and where that started from, that seed of that idea, and I guess what do you hope now to achieve with it? Has it been a year since it's been running? Has it been that long yet?
So it was a year and a half since I did the Style Like You video. Okay. So it's probably a year now. Yeah, a year and a bit.
And when did was it a kind of light bulb moment, or was it?
Yeah, it was definitely a light bulb moment. Treatment really helped kind of grow the idea that I had. It's really kind of a stolen basis on how I think schools should approach emotion and making sure that girls have a space in which they can talk about. And I was really given that throughout my kind of throughout the process of me getting myself back together.
Sure.
And I thought it was something very complicated, and literally it was just talking honestly and talking openly about everything I was going through. But it was something, I had the idea, I didn't think I was ready to do it, I didn't have a lot of confidence in starting it, and I thought I had to do a lot more work to get to that place. But it was a certain someone who was just like, you should go for it, and I had a lot of support from my family who said what a good idea it was, and there wasn't a lot, you know. I think what's different about Girls Talk, and I really saw this in our recent event with Coach, was that we're serious, but we also make it a laugh. We talk about everything openly, and it sometimes feels like you're just having a one-on-one conversation with your girlfriend, but we're all in the room together and we're all having a laugh and just like baring our souls, and that's that's just the beauty of Girls Talk.
You make it sound very easy, but I mean, I think it's quite a pretty extraordinary thing to be able to achieve that kind of intimacy on any kind of size of platform. Did you find it difficult at first, sort of young women and girls to kind of bring them forward and want to share, or they were just waiting really for something like this?
No, definitely just waiting. Yeah. It was, I think that's another misconception of, you know, everyone has this idea of girls at the age of 14, 15, 16, and they don't want to talk about things, but I think no one's tried, no one's put in the time and effort to make sure that these girls feel like they're not alone in their experiences and what they might have been going through or what they're going through now. And so it was amazing when I first started talking with both friends and supporters of Girls Talk, how quickly they came forward, how quickly they wanted to start speaking. I think in the beginning I thought, oh God, this is so much pressure, I'm not ready I can't solve anyone's problems. Sure. But the reality of it was they didn't want me to solve their problems, they just literally wanted someone to talk to. And I think with everyone who works with Girls Talk, it's a 50-50 relationship. They speak about their experiences, and it shows the girls that they can also. So it's these very like odd kind of online relationships, and the event was the first time we had everyone together, and we made, you know, Shona Heath did the set, and it was beautiful and cozy, and we wanted to create, me and my partner Holly Gore, we wanted to create something, a space where you wanted to stay, that you could like sit on a beanbag and speak to your friends and talk to the psychiatrist and the doctor and the girls on the panel who, you know, after they spoke, you know, it was a friendship and a community. Sure. We created a community for sure.
Where did you go then when you were younger and I guess that wasn't around? What happened to you? Is that you didn't have that opportunity to share, so you know, it kind of you didn't have anyone like that helped you when you were younger? No.
You know, my Mum said recently in the, you know, the Heads Together video we did, she comes from a different generation, so it wasn't that she didn't want to, I think she just didn't understand that was something I really needed. Sure. I needed to not always talk about school and work. I also needed someone to ask me how I was feeling, but actually listen to what I had to say. And so because I didn't have that space and school really didn't offer that, I just bottled everything up. And it was so great with the older girls that have kind of become part of Girls Talk, is they always say that this is something they wish they'd had at school. Yeah. You know, the event we had, I had nothing when I was that age.
I've got two daughters who are five and 1. Yeah. So I'm going to pass on your number if that's all right.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll call you in about 10 years, maybe 9 years.
That's perfect.
So listen, it's all very well, you know, the young women and women having this amazing platform to share. What about guys?
I know.
What are we supposed to do?
What are you supposed to do? You could start Boys Talk.
Bro Talk, I thought.
Yeah, exactly. Bro Talk. You could start that.
I mean, in all seriousness, a lot of, you know, I encountered this on Twitter recently in a spat with Piers Morgan,
You were having a spat with Piers
I was, yeah.
Really?
I used to work with him a while ago. But we were talking about actually our Prince William cover that we did with the Heads Together campaign.
Yeah.
And he was
Love Prince William.
Right, exactly. And he was of this of the thinking that, you know, guys should kind of toughen up and shut up and put up kind of thing and stop oversharing. How do you feel about that?
No, completely wrong.
Yeah.
Because it's Girls Talk and we did this event, I think everyone thought that it was only for girls and only for women, and I was like, no, we want men to be there. It comes hand in hand. The more we grow, we should be like coming up together. We should like be aware of both situations and both kind of all the struggles and, you know, greatness that comes with being both sexes. And it was amazing, you know, having men at the event who stood up and they bared their soul as well, and they were like, you know, what shall I do if you have any advice? And we were just like, just you standing up is amazing. Yeah. Just you being aware that you've got to put in other sorts of efforts.
There is a fair amount of stigma. I mean, we encounter this, and we've done lots of you know, kind of thinking around mental health with in GQ. But there is a fair amount of stigma for men just to do something as simple as that. I don't know what you feel that they can do to help that. Is it turning to a friend? Is it, I guess, becoming involved with an organisation such as yourselves? Is that that first step?
I think becoming part of an organisation. I think Heads Together has really been great with that, and this, you know, it was both sexes. It was all three of them who have worked together to, you know, they were all talking about it. Yeah. It's been great that, you know, public figures coming out about their struggles with mental health and addiction and being very honest about the fact that they're going into treatment and they're sorting it out. I think that really paves the way for younger men. But there's also, you know, a lot of other things with, you know, things that really aren't great influences on younger men in terms of, like, you know, for instance, like the Rob Kardashian thing. Okay, you know, right, sure. That shouldn't be something that people think is all right to do. Yeah. You know. Yeah, sure.
I was going to ask you. So it's good for men to cry. Should men have a good cry?
I think so. I'm not. I think my boyfriend would kill me. So you have to cut it out. But yeah, I think it's. You know, we should, as women, should make sure that we make it comfortable for men to cry, because I think, you know, when the first time I ever saw my dad cry, I was like, ugh, you're supposed to be strong. The strong guy, right? You're supposed to, you know, you can't cry, but it's like not like that. And I've learned as I've got older that it should be like both should be able to
let it out.
Let it out, exactly.
Emote. We're a men's magazine. We're a fashion magazine to a certain point. I wanted to get some of your views on men's style.
Okay.
Do you have I guess what's a good thing for a guy to wear at the moment? Do you have a particular...
I really like to dress like a man most of the time. I always say that Tupac is like my style icon. Men, what should they wear? A man in a suit.
Yeah,
always,
still good?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Always. And I think that like younger generation forget that. They're like, oh no, and no. A man in a suit is the like sexiest thing in the world.
Great.
Yeah.
We like to hear that.
Suits.
Have you seen those?
don't want it to, I'm not sure, too keen on it being too kept.
Okay.
I think you've just got to like
loosen up a bit.
Go with it, loosen up.
Okay.
You know, my dad still wears, I don't know if my mum appreciates it, but he still wears like, you know, clothes that might be, could typically be worn for, you know, the younger man, but he looks great and he does what he wants. Yeah, not caring too much. I love a tracksuit always as well.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But that issue of taking too much care of yourself is not a sexy thing, right?
No, and same with I mean, I appreciate both, but I even think for women, I much prefer someone who's just kind of like feels like they've thrown something on.
Very good.
Yeah.
Last question, I guess. Who is your own personal man of the year? I know you mentioned Anthony Joshua there, but...
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God, this is a good question. Okay, who is my... I think the whole cast of Moonlight.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
I can't argue with that.
Yeah, they're definitely my men of the year.
Did you watch the Oscars slip up?
Yeah. Yeah, but I met them and they are just so cool and amazing. Pharrell always.
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
He's won before, hasn't he?
He has won before. Yeah, we've been in the presence of greatness. With
yeah,
Pharrell, yeah, always. He's got a great style going on.
Oh my God, he's got amazing style.
I would love to try and rock some of his.
Yeah, and he's always like paved the way as well. He's like always before it, I feel.
Yeah.
That's something I really like.
I always feel I'm slightly behind it.
No.
Fantastic. Adwoa, thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right.